Welcome to Stereo 3D Productions, everyone. Carolers? Really? There's no way. Are those Santa's elves? Bro, it's not even Halloween. Are they smoking crack in the North Pole? For fuck's sake. Listen, you little fuckers, come back in December with your Christmas shit.
But we're spreading the joy of the holidays.
I'm trying to make a video for Halloween season and
Jingle
wait,
bells,
stop.
bells, jingle all the way.
It's not Christmas, bitch, it's fucking Halloween!
Oh my god, the fucker's gonna Oh my god, we gotta
Fucking elves, man. Alright, that takes care of that. No more fucking Christmas music during spooky season. Change of plan. So I was gonna brief you for today's video, but it looks like I gotta go wash off all this elf blood. So, I'll see you in game, okay? This video has been a long time coming, and the timing could not be better since it's soon Halloween and we can all use new top-notch horror in our VR libraries. That's right, Visage is making a return to Stereo 3D Productions a whole 6 years after its first appearance on the channel back in 2018 to nearly this very day. This video will contain instructions on how to get Visage working in VR, and these could be subject to future change. If there are any updates in the future, I'll leave them in a pinned comment, so please look out for one of those when you watch this video. If you don't see any pinned comment, just keep watching and enjoy your stay. The story of Visage in VR is both tantalizing and unfortunate. See, when I originally visited this game in 2018, it was still in early access, only had one chapter, and came with a promise from the developer made on their Kickstarter page. VR would not be available at the early access launch, but was planned to be added at some point before the game's final launch. Sure enough, I purchased the game soon upon seeing this, because in addition to VR promises, it turns out that Sad Square Studios is from my hometown, and I definitely did not mind throwing some support for local devs making a game this good. During my original video, the studio had shipped Visage with VR support simply checked on in their Unreal project. The implementation itself was non-existent, but players could forcibly enable VR with a launch parameter, and even though the UIs didn't work, the menus didn't work, and the mechanics were barely responsive, some of us actually managed to get far enough into it to get a glimpse of how visually excellent this game would be for VR. Given the state of the forcibly enabled VR version, the developers eventually disabled this hack. Understandable at the time, but no one knew this would be the absolute end for VR and Visage officially. Of course, you know how this turned out since we're in 2024 now, 6 years later, and there's still no official VR support in sight. It's a damn shame, and one of the greater letdowns in the scattered false promises made during the early days of VR. I really think studios should be more careful about what they promise, as it influences our purchase decision, and I genuinely think we were misled. All I can say is, it's never too late, and from what I've seen while creating this video, I can't help but think a VR implementation would not be that big of a task. The injector can handle most of it very well, the performance is good, and the visuals are great. This is so tantalizingly close. VR would also still welcome this with open arms. I hope you all get back together one more time to give us a native VR implementation of this gem. In the meantime, today we're going to finally try to do this thing justice by running the game with UEVR Injector. A giant step above the hack we saw in 2018 that was almost unplayable, and hopefully our first real step into Visage the way it's been meant to be played all along since day one, in virtual reality. Of course, before we take a look at the game in VR, we have to get UEVR Injector set up, so let's get to that first. In order to get started, go ahead and download Predog's UEVR Injector from the Releases page. There's going to be a link in the description. Once you've downloaded the zip file, extract its contents into a folder of its own. This is a kind of program that doesn't run an installer, rather you just launch it by running UEVR Injector.exe, but at the first run you may notice it'll recommend you switch it into administrator mode. Instead of having to do this every time, what I suggest you do is you right-click on UEVR Injector.exe, go to Properties, and then in the Compatibility tab, check the option to run this program as administrator. Hit OK, and next time you launch the app, Windows is going to prompt you for permission, and the injector will now be launched with admin permissions. Now for this setup we need two things, a profile and a mod. These are available on the Flat2VR Discord, which I highly recommend you join if you haven't already. There will be a link in the description to this server, and a second link in the description to the very post that contains the game's profile and the extra mod we also need. The file Visage crossmod.zip is the crosshair mod, and the file Visage Win64 shipping.zip is the UEVR profile. Keep these two in a folder somewhere. After downloading the two files, first let's import our profile. Run UEVR Injector and hit Import Profile on the left. Navigate to where you saved our two zip files earlier and pick the Visage Win64 shipping.zip file. There we go, our profile is now imported. Next, we want to install the crosshair mod. This will improve head-aimed interactions in the game, and you'll see why we're really going to need this later. Open Steam and right-click on Visage, then go to Manage, then Browse Local Files. This will open the game's root folder. Now, extract the Visage CrossMod archive into a folder of its own and go inside this extracted folder where you'll find the subfolders Logic Mods and Win64. In the game's root folder, navigate to Visage, then Content, then Packs. Copy the folder Logic Mods from Visage CrossMod and paste it into your Packs folder. Next, from the root of your game, go again to Visage, then Binaries, then Win64. In Visage CrossMod, open its Win64 folder, copy the contents and paste everything into the game's Win64 folder. Voila, we now have our crosshair mod installed. With our profile and mod ready, it's time to launch the game in VR. Start up your runtimes, virtual desktop, SteamVR, Oculus, whichever you're going for, and open UEVR Injector and pick your runtime mode, OpenVR or OpenXR. Now launch Visage, and as soon as the game is running, tab over to UEVR Injector, open the Processes dropdown and pick Visage. If tabbing out proves difficult, it could be because the game is running full screen. In that case, let it finish launching, go in the video options and set it to windowed, which will make it easier to switch to UEVR Injector. When you hit Inject, the game will almost immediately go over into your headset. Once you get into Visage, you'll notice that no, this time we don't have this weirdly cool title screen. Yes, it is 3D, but there's no horizontal rotation, which absolutely sucks. Good thing the whole game isn't like this, and this is after all an injector, so we're gonna accept it. First, because I'm using SteamVR through Airlink here, I wanted access to FPS VR, my damn system button opens the SteamVR dashboard. This is the button meant to be used to open the game menu and inventory, so we have to create ourselves a binding to fix this. Keep in mind this trick does not work through Virtual Desktop, but through Oculus with SteamVR or Steam Link, open the dashboard and go to Controller Bindings. In Bindings, click on Custom, then on Edit this binding. Uncheck Mirror Mode, and then in the right joystick under Use as Joystick, hit the Edit icon. Click on None next to Click, and in the list select System button. hit the save check mark for the use as joystick section, and voila, back out of this section. Now your right thumbstick, when pressed, will open the inventory, and when held down for 2 seconds will open the game menu. Good thing that there is no use for pressing down the right stick in this game at all, and we can actually use this mapping for something else. Again, note that this trick does not work with virtual desktops, so if you want to use your motion controllers with that runtime, you will need to do some walking to the keyboard to open the game menus. Speaking of walking to the keyboard, I don't have a binding on my controllers for opening the UEVR menu, so I'll just reach for the insert key on my Bluetooth numpad here. The insert key opens the UEVR Injector menu. First things first, since I'm using OpenXR right now, under runtime, I can set the resolution scale, and because I've been trying all sorts of profiles on the Discord, this value is way too high. I'll keep it as close to 1.0 as I can, as close as this damn slider will allow me anyways. We're going to take care of the resolution later. It's possible that this setting will already be at 1.0 for you, which is what we want, but just make sure it's not way over that, and yes, you can mess with this later to optimize visuals or performance. Let's go to the Input tab. To navigate the menus in this game, we're going to need to use the D-pad shifting, and the default method for Oculus really sucks. It's right thumb rest and left stick, which I keep activating accidentally because I rest my thumb. That's what it's called after all. When you hit it accidentally, it halts your movement, which in this game is a scary thing to have happen. So I change my D-pad shifting method to the far superior head gesture left stick option. With this option selected, to perform D-pad inputs, raise your left hand to the side of your head, at which point your left stick becomes a D-pad. You're also gonna get haptic feedback to confirm this. Next, go to Camera and make sure that decoupled pitch is enabled. This is always of utmost importance, but in this case, honestly, I cannot stress this enough. You do not want to play this with this option unchecked. It will cause even the most hardcore of VR legs to crumble. With this enabled, your game will always keep your view straight and level, matching your head's actual vertical orientation. Now, before you start a game, make sure to hit Set Standing Origin. Being properly centered is very important with this retrofit, as we'll see later in the video. Go ahead and launch into a new game from here. The cutscene at the beginning is truly suboptimal, by the way. Not only do we have some weird camera movement and awkward positions, but our horizontal rotation is locked. Good thing that thanks to decoupled pitch we can look up and down freely, but this is about as bad as it gets in terms of a retrofit VR cutscene anyway. The silver lining here is from my experience with this game, these are few and far apart, with most events happening while you're in control of your character. Now, once you load into the game, again, in my case, since I had been messing around with profiles, I noticed a sort of eyesore in all the shadows. If this happens to you, open the UEVR Injector menu and go in Console CVARs, and in the first slider, the one for ambient occlusion, move it around left and right. Mine started off at -1 for some reason, which is incorrect, and then back to the lowest value possible. This will make the eyesores disappear. Close out of the UEVR Injector menu, and now it's time to use our fake system button. Hold your right thumbstick down 2 seconds and release it. The game menu will open. Now raise your left hand to the side of your head and use your stick to navigate the menu. We're going to Options and then to Video while I have FPS VR running, of course. Keep in mind that the game's resolution option won't affect anything else than the desktop window size. The actual resolution of the game is tied to what your VR runtimes are set at. In my case, my Oculus runtimes are set at a 1.2 multiplier, so SteamVR picks that value up. So if you're looking to change your resolution, just change the value directly in the runtimes you're using. The next important option is Resolution Scale. This option is presented wrong in this game. It should be a slider with a percentage value, but we have named tiers instead. Just pick Epic, which I highly suspect is 100%. Yeah, this game upscales unless you're setting this to Epic. I find that super weird. Disable vertical sync even though I think UEVR already kills it off just to be safe, and for the rest of the settings, post-processing, effects, and details did not make much of a difference, but lowering the shadows one notch can get you a bit of a boost. For performance, you'll really want to scale it by playing with your runtime's resolution more than anything else. Now, I've got the anti-aliasing disabled because the methods the game uses are awful, and at the end, the setting I have now is already very clear in terms of resolution, so no anti-aliasing is really necessary. Now, if you need to know the controls, unlike the days of the RE framework mods where we had to figure out the bindings for ourselves, this time around, PreyDog has given us this insanely detailed documentation of UEVR Injector along with a very important section containing a list of default bindings. This is going to let you know what each motion control input corresponds to as gamepad input for the game. Once you read this list, you'll basically know all the control bindings in almost every UEVR retrofit. There's going to be a link to this list in the description. That's about it. Remember to enable the crosshair mod after you launch. You have to hit the end key on your keyboard. You're going to need this crosshair. Trust me, I'm about to go over how this plays in VR, and you're going to see why the crosshair comes in really handy. I'll just get it over with the issues first, and I'll even say this right away. This retrofit is good, but not good enough for someone who's looking to buy the game and jump right into it in VR. This is really meant for those of us who, like me, originally wanted to play it in VR, bought it, and never came back to it since. You'll have some jank to put up with, as we saw for instance with the opening scene earlier. I myself raised the bar on this retrofit by doing this kind of pseudo room scale playthrough. This retrofit does not in fact support VR hands. It's meant to be played with the gamepad or mouse and keyboard seated, but for a first in this channel's history, I chose to play a seated VR title while standing, with my motion controllers working as a split-up gamepad while I would use my head to aim at things and interact with them. Sure enough, you can expect that this induced even more issues. The first issue, and it's the most annoying, infuriating one, the interaction ray trace in this game is cruel. I remember back in 2018 when I tested this game on the desktop a few times before trying the VR hack, the interaction alignment was already a little fucky, it's pixel perfect. But in VR, with this retrofit, it just gets amplified by 10 to the point where it becomes an actual problem. We have the crosshair mod to help with this, and remember, if it vanishes, hit your end key to bring it back up. And while this thing is a lifesaver in some ways, whenever you become out of alignment with your VR Play Center, you also fall out of alignment with the crosshair, and this can lead to some really drawn-out fights with the interface trying to line up that aim so that the goddamn prompt comes up. You can imagine this would be even more hard to do without this crosshair mod. Granted, during my playthrough, I admit I did not use set standing origin often enough, and sure enough, it made the issue even worse. One thing that I really struggled with in this playthrough is the two-handed inventory, which I really don't know if it comes down to a skill issue or just the fact that it's generally annoying. I mean, all the early access bugs for this thing are gone, but it still pisses me off so often. Another issue that quickly comes to light with this game are the awful cutscenes. Your horizontal camera rotation becomes locked, and even though decoupled pitch lets us look up and down, it's still super jarring, and the really exaggerated camera movements do not help one bit. Last, some of the effects are broken in 3D. For example, the rain in the treehouse scene is actually terrible. It's visible entirely in your left eye, but only partially in the right eye. It's so weird. I haven't come into other effects that were this bad. In fact, for the most part, the game did look really good, so fingers crossed that this isn't frequent. The bottom line is most of the issues aren't that bad. It's really just that awful interaction aim that will have your playthrough almost ruined by parts. If you want an idea of how that issue interfered with my playthrough and how I struggled with that damn inventory, have a look at some amazing gamer moments from my session. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I can actually pick up this light. Jesus. Oh my god. Do you see the prompt coming up like that and fidgeting me? There we go. Are you fucking kidding me? Can you let me pick up the... This is gonna be the game. Like, I don't see what zone it wants me to stare at this from. There we go. Oh my god. No, it's not. Oh my god. There we go. I was able to do 2 in a row. Wow. I'm starting to be a pro fucking gamer here. Oh boy. Oh god, that's actually fucking creepy. I'm not able to pick up the doll. Wow. Your hands are full. I hate this game. Oh, this is so sad. Okay, I can't pick up the syringe. Where? I just saw the prompt come up. I'm gonna die a lot in this game because of these issues. Oh my god. Okay, so it's a cutscene, right? And the head is being forcibly rotated. And the rain is a fake layer. Oh my god, I got it. This is very important when you're playing a seated title while standing, while having the ability to change your play center on the fly because you're moving around. Very important to recenter often. Hello? Oh my god, this inventory. Now, there are some excellent things with this implementation. It is Visage after all. It looks and feels exactly like what you would expect from this game. Hell, I know what's supposed to happen next in this playthrough, and the game still managed to make me feel beyond uneasy, actually rattling me a little at the end. It is full-on fingers in the outlet electrifying horror, and giving the basics our sound here, there are extended periods of time where you'll actually sink into the game and really get taken for a ride in the best way possible. The game performs really well for a UEVR Injector retrofit, being on 1.2 resolution multiplier on a Quest 3 with an RTX 4080, I was able to keep up a near constant 72Hz. With a few adjustments, I could likely take this up to 90. This doesn't seem like much, but for a UEVR Injector retrofit, it's what you'd expect given the larger than usual performance overhead we're seeing with this tool. The graphics themselves look great and contribute to that dreadful atmosphere that this game conveys so efficiently. Once I got past the first bits of the game where the horror ramps up a notch, I was finally able to put aside my fight with the interaction mechanics and enjoy a good, drawn-out cat-and-mouse game in pitch darkness with only a camera flash to light my way. Once the game settles in and gives you things to enjoy between fights with its mechanics, you'll start getting drawn in and enjoying it a lot. By the end of my session, despite the issues, I was definitely warming up to this retrofit. I actually have to play with this guy. Oh man. I kind of rushed into this in the sense that I did all the settings and everything and I wanted to be ready to play. I'm gonna have to give my impressions while I'm going through it, but this looks amazing, by the way. First off, it just has such a good aesthetic. So right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to liberate the house before I go down there. So I want to make sure that everything's accessible. I don't think it's going to be entirely necessary, though. Oh, yeah, here she is. So I have to go up to her. And she starts her animation, but I have to get the fuck out of here. I have to like back off, otherwise she makes you fucking batshit insane in 1 second. Wow. I already know where to go, but it does show you where to go. Cool. Alright, stopping. Oh, nice.
Come with me, Lucy. Stay with me, Lucy. It's bad, Lucy. It has to go away. Don't tell anyone, Lucy. Me and you. I want to help you. It's not what it seems, Lucy.
Oh no, not this. Oh god, she's fucking creepy, man. I do not remember this. Okay, got something, we got something. Got something. Got some flickering light. I'm not gonna look behind me. This is gonna scare me. This is gonna come from behind me. Oh, oh, oh. You assholes, that was a paranormal event. That was not actually anything other than a paranormal event. Ah! Do I have to say hi to her? Well, I mean, I'm gonna try. Hey, Lucy. Okay, cool. Oh my god. Oh no, 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 no. I think she's on me. Or not. Jesus. Ah! Fuck! Shit! God damn it! Finally, we're playing Visage the way it's meant to be played. Or almost the way it's meant to be played. Like I said, this isn't a retrofit I can recommend to someone who wants to just buy this game and jump right into it in VR. But it is a good fallback solution for those of you who originally bought it during early access with the hopes of one day playing it in VR, especially those of you who never ended up playing it on the desktop. The adaptation runs really well here. This is the first thing I noticed, and this goes a long way into enjoying the visuals and atmosphere this game provides. It's a really high bar as far as horror aesthetics go, and this adapts superbly for VR. I've only played for around 80 minutes, 40 of which I had already played through before in VR, and once I reached the parts I don't remember or don't know, the nerves kicked in and my rage over whatever issues I deal with faded away increasingly. This has too much jank for general consumption, but if you love VR horror and you're ready to put up with the jank and get used to it, it takes about half an hour, then yeah, you should really play this in VR because the atmosphere and horror are both amplified by a factor of 100 through a headset. Even if you choose to play seated with mouse and keyboard or gamepad, this is so visually rich that you will most definitely augment your experience by using virtual reality. In my case, I think I did well to pick this game as my first seated VR title played standing with controllers. I had never tried this before, and because of the way this retrofit works, it actually worked out a lot better than expected. Yes, the interactions were a disaster, but goddamn was the game so immersive this way. Using this method really led to some added tension at the end when I had to play cat and mouse with Lucy. I just wish this wasn't so tantalizingly close. I'm definitely going to look for solutions to this interaction aim issue, because if it could be even just reduced by 30%, this would transform this retrofit into something a lot more solid already. If we could get rid of it entirely, this suddenly becomes one of the top UEVR adaptations, even without full motion control support. I'm going to try a few things to improve this when I continue playing on the sister channel Stereo 3D Plays. I want to try different methods of doing the aim. There seems to be a working method for hand-based aim. I found a video on this, but it's in Spanish, so I'll carefully look at what they're doing and try this adaptation for myself and see if it's any better. Another easy solution to this issue is to play seated with mouse and keyboard or gamepad, at which point the play center won't come out of alignment as drastically, something I also plan on trying in future experiments. Speaking of Stereo 3D Plays, the second channel, I invite you to join me over there. It's not only been a productive journey so far, I've been posting content regularly on that channel since launching it, but this also happens to be one of the best years to date in terms of production for me. It looks like I'm reaching a 2017 pace again, and that's all thanks to this second channel. Let's Play series, experimental videos, plans for future showcase productions on the big channel. There's tons of content to enjoy, including the future play sessions of Visage. In fact, I plan on very soon posting a long-form version of the gameplay performed for this video on there. So head on over, there'll be a link in the description. Alright, that covers everything for Visage for the time being. I've got some other projects for the big channel, so be on the lookout for more soon, especially in regards to UEVR Injector. This has been Stereo 3D Productions. Thanks for watching all the way, and I shall see you next time.